For anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Michelle tonight, David?
She's just ducked out for 5 minutes with Mum, but she'll be back.
Yeah, good.
Lauren,
She was. Oh, there's an echo so loud.
Yeah. I think it might be Lauren.
Is it?
Just adjust your computer maybe. Is it a laptop?
Yeah.
My audio is not very good either. It's very crackly.
Headphones up better?
That's better.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can hear you all right, Althea, if you want to just do a quick hello test.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. It's just a bit crackly my end, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's 1 minute past. We've got 15 people in the wait room, but should we just kick off? People might dial in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to turn my video off and give me a couple of seconds and I'll open the wait room. Okay. Okay, I'm going to open the wait room now.
Just let me know when you're ready for me to kick off, Amanda.
Yeah, we're ready to go now.
Cool. All right, well, we'll kick off and then people can just kind of join us as they arrive, but we'll get started. So welcome everyone to our WIDAC event on the art of living in limbo. Fantastic to have everyone here tonight. For everyone dialing in. We've had so many people from lots of different states dialing in lately. We've had people from Perth and a couple from SA, so it's been really nice to see, I guess, people outside of our normal WIDAC community dialing in and joining us, which is absolutely fantastic. Next slide, please, Amanda. So I'll just quickly kick off with an acknowledgement of country before we get into the formalities for tonight. So we would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional and spiritual custodians of the land on which this event is taking place and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We also recognise those whose ongoing effort to protect and promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures will leave a lasting legacy for future elders and leaders. Next slide. Awesome. So I'll quickly cover off what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'll introduce quickly WIDAC for those of you who don't know about WIDAC or haven't joined us before. I'll quickly take you through some of our upcoming events. It's very exciting. We're finally, I guess, getting
Hi everyone. I'm not sure if Althea's just dropped off there. Can everyone just comment in the box if Althea's disappeared for them? I don't know if her internet's dropped out. I'm not really sure. I'm Amanda, for those of you who know me. Yeah, so she's frozen, so her connection might be quite poor. Hopefully Althea will jump back on when she can. I might just dive in while I'm saying hello. So warm welcome to everyone. Althea, if you pop back up, please do interrupt me and continue. But the joys of technology.
That was very smooth. That was very smooth transition there.
I didn't know if it was my connection or if it was the same for everyone. So yeah, apologies about that. Hopefully Althea can join us again shortly. But very warm welcome to tonight's Living in Limbo event. We've got some upcoming events we'll touch on. For those of you now talking in the chat function, you'll have seen that I posted warm welcome. Any questions for the speakers, direct those through the chat. You should have all come into the event with your microphone and video off. We ask that you leave these off during the presentation, and then those who will stay on for the networking, you can turn them on afterwards, just so we don't have any interruptions or background noise while we have our presenters speaking. So we'll introduce the Living in Limbo, our guest presenters, a Q&A, and then we will go into the optional discussion in networking rooms. So about us and our community, these are our 5 WIDAC pillars that we aspire to support our community with: networking and friendships, knowledge sharing, support and guidance, growth and development, and recognition and celebrations. This is the WAR series, the WIDAC at Home series. We started it in response to COVID, and we're going to continue moving forward. Althea, I don't know if you've just popped back on.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened, just completely kicked me out. Joys of technology, when you need them to be like really, really sturdy, disappear off the face of the earth, so that's great. You seem to have done a fantastic job covering me while I've been gone. So yeah, as Amanda mentioned, this is one of our WIDAC at Home series events. If anyone's ever got any ideas on topics that they'd love to hear, like, please get in touch. We've had lots of people from the community reach out and say, we'd love to hear about this. We had someone the other day ask about kind of change management, so we've got a topic coming up on that. We're always open to, you know, curating the kind of content that our community wants to hear about. So please get in touch if there's a particular idea or topic you'd love to see us do. And just a little bit about WIDAC. So we've got some upcoming events. So Change in People Management Workshop, that's going to be on the 13th of October. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited about that one. I think it's a really like relevant topic given kind of what's happening in a lot of organisations at the moment. So feel free to join in and join us for that one. The Road to Leadership panel event and digital networking on the 27th of October. That should be absolutely fantastic as well. We've got some great speakers lined up for that one. Different programs and initiatives that we've got coming up. So the Mentoring and Mentee program is going to launch again in January. It's going to be new, slightly different, but definitely, you know, a fantastic program that we're going to offer again to those within our community. So keep an eye out because more information will be coming out in the coming months about that one. And as always, we've got these fantastic mother's care packages available. If you know a woman who is currently on maternity leave, like myself, but apparently I'm not allowed to apply, and is soon to return to work, the mother's care packages just provide a whole bunch of, you know, goodies and gifts and different things and vouchers and things that are going to make the transition back to work a lot smoother for different mothers in our community. Includes things like foods vouchers. We had the last winner said she really needed a breast pump for when she went back to work, so we made sure we got her one of those. So if you know anyone, and you can even just send them the link, it's on our website, so have a look, as we'd love to get some more applications for that. What else have we got coming up? I hope everyone's had a chance to have a look at our new website. That's 6 months worth of blood, sweat and tears that went into our new website, and sounds really embarrassing, but every time I log onto it, I get a little bit emotional, a little bit teary, just because I'm so proud of the work that Erin, one of our national directors, put into that website. And there's lots of amazing content, and we've even got blogs now. So yeah, if you haven't had a look at the website, check it out. It's pretty cool. And we have a fantastic newsletter that comes out once a month. And there's lots of opportunity if you ever want to get involved on our Instagram and share different projects you've completed. We had a fantastic post the other day about an all-female project team down in Victoria, Sally and her team, who did this amazing home renovation. She wanted to share the work, and we said, yeah, we'd love to share it with the community. So always reach out if you think that there's something that you'd love to share, because we would absolutely love to share it with our community. Okay, so on to our topic for this evening, living in limbo. I think it was in the WIDAC office a couple of weeks ago that I said to Tamara, you know what a topic is that I'd absolutely love to do. I think it's super relevant for this year, and it's just living in limbo. This is kind of a phrase that I used a lot of times through my IVF journey. I said the whole time, I just feel like I'm living in limbo. It's like IVF for me was like COVID for a lot of people. It was a really, really scary time with absolutely no certainty. Every day for me just presented a new challenge. There were no, you know, goalposts that I was working to because everything kept shifting and changing. as I started my IVF journey, I had been trying to get pregnant for quite a while with no results. And then I'd get a different diagnosis, and then I'd find out that I had a different condition. And then, every day brought a new challenge that felt like, coming out the other end and seeing that light at the end of the tunnel was even further. And so I felt like for that 2 years, I was just living in limbo, waiting for some certainty and waiting to achieve something in my life that I had planned for so long. So for this year, a lot of people, through COVID, living in limbo is all we're doing. It's all we can do at the moment. As the small business owner, that's all Erin and I are doing at the moment with our business, is just living in limbo. Kind of come June, we started trying to plan for the new financial year, and we got I think we did about 3 different drafts of a budget, and then we just threw them all out the window, and then we tried to forecast quarterly, and then we threw that out the window, and we've tried to forecast monthly, and even that, it's day to day at the moment for us. So a lot of people really struggle when there's uncertainty. Me personally, I'm a design manager, project manager, so I'm used to having a lot of control and a very set plan. So for me, COVID has proven to be another really frustrating time where, for me personally, it feels like it's, 2 steps forward, 8 steps backwards. And for a lot of people, and it's not just women, but it's a lot of people who like to be, highly organized, plan things in advance, know when you're going on holiday, know when, you're starting and finishing a fitness challenge, knowing when your next, planned promotion at work might be, and working towards that. But when all of the goalposts are removed, it's really hard. For my husband, he lives in a 5-minute bubble. He doesn't think about anything more than 5 minutes into his future. So for him, it hasn't been that stressful. But I think for a lot of people out there, especially really organized, hardworking, professionals and females definitely, having all of the goalposts removed has been a really big challenge. So I'm really excited. Tamara's and Amanda have rounded up some fantastic speakers tonight who I think will be able to provide some great tips and advice, around how you can survive when you're literally just dangling in the breeze and you haven't got those kind of parameters to work within, and you're just having to take it day by day. Because for some people like myself, that's a really jarring way to live. So I hope everyone really likes the topic that we've got. Like Amanda said, throw your questions in the chat. It's a fantastic topic. And I think from what I've seen tonight, the speakers have some excellent insights they're going to share with you, and just some really, really practical tips on how you can kind of survive and even thrive when when you're not able to make a plan. So I hope everyone enjoys the event. I'm now going to hand over to Tamara, who's going to introduce our speakers and moderate the panel. Thank you, Tam.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Althea, and welcome everyone. Tonight's event, as Althea was explaining, is all about living in limbo and finding balance at a time of chaos. So personally, I have felt like this also, living in constant limbo since February, where I was moving jobs to then moving states. So it was a pretty hectic year for me. 2020 has certainly has many of us feeling out of balance and sometimes unstable with the constant changes. With that being said, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Lauren McCormack. So Lauren is a part owner and director of McCormack, a leading commercial building company who specialise in the fit out and refurbishment of commercial, council, government and education sectors. She finds honesty, creativity, positive attitude and dedication to be the most valuable qualities for success in running her company. Lauren feels incredibly privileged to have worked her way up through the company over the last 16 years, which has given her deep understanding and appreciation that every person in the team plays a critical role at different stages of the project life cycle and is fundamental to its overall success. Today, Lauren sees her role as the company's facilitator, finding gaps in the company and filling them with initiatives that benefit both clients and employees. Her goal at McCormack is to create a diverse and inclusive culture that empowers her staff to create not just beautiful spaces for people to work in, but make them feel as if what they are doing is making a difference to people's lives. When not working, Lauren enjoys spending time with her family and friends, dancing, drinking, cocktails, and going on holidays to Byron Bay. So welcome, Lauren, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tamara. Hello, everybody. That's good. You've taken half of my bio, Tamara, so I'm happy. Yeah, I suppose that, you know, thank you to everyone for attending tonight. It's definitely been a very strange year for everyone involved, and it was great chatting to David and Sarah yesterday, and I was very, very jealous, you know, finding out that obviously they all live in other states besides Melbourne. You know, which obviously, as most of you know, it's been a real battle down in Melbourne. It's been a really, really tough year for all of us, and you know, I think especially in the construction industry, it's been unbelievable. You know, we have had kind of our ups and downs, and I suppose me personally, and I know my, you know, my brother and my dad and my uncle that are also owners in the company as well have really struggled finding that balance and understanding, as you were both talking about before, what's our plan? How are we going to deal with this? You know, how do we protect our staff? Which has been the biggest struggle, because, you know, they all mean so much to us, and I think we've done a really good job retaining all of our staff, which we've done throughout the whole COVID restrictions and the impact to the industry. And you know, we've been smart about it. I think we've done a lot of, you know, we tried to limit the reduced working days and stuff like that, but during stage 4, it did get to a point where, as a company, we had to make that decision to reduce people's working days, and it was tough because we know all of our staff. We know the impact that it's going to have on their families and their financial budgets. And I think the worst thing was that so many people that worked in other industries had lost their jobs. And what we found is that you'd speak to one of our, you know, one of our site guys, and they'd be like, oh yeah, my wife just lost their job yesterday. And then we know that we're implementing a reduced working day the following week. Like, it was just a horrible situation, and really tough. But I suppose what we tried to do is we caught up once a week, you know, the directors and a couple of our senior management team, and we just tried to plan as best as possible. We made sure that we had our COVID safe plans in place so that our job sites didn't get shut down. And we looked at our financials. We culled our overheads like there was no tomorrow, without reducing staff numbers, which, as I said, was just the most critical thing for us. So yeah, I suppose we'll touch on some of the other questions later tomorrow, but yeah, that was just a bit of a summary of kind of how it's impacted our company.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Lauren. Now to introduce David Anderson. David works as a senior architect and associate at HDR, founding director of Aussie Action Abroad, site planner, architect of UN IOM, and he was the former director of Architects Without Frontiers, AWF. David has over 20 years experience as an architect working in health, defence, humanitarian architecture. He had 15 years of experience in community development projects in Nepal with AWF and AAA, and is on the Red R roster as an architect, site planner, and is currently deployed to the UNHCR as shelter officer, site planner, and architect in the UN cross-border operation from Turkey into Syria. David currently resides in Sydney with his wife and 2.5-year-old daughter. So welcome, David.
Hi, how are you going? And thanks so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak and present in finding balance in the time of chaos. It has been an intense time, the COVID situation, and my heart really goes out for those that have lost their jobs. Yes, I reside in Sydney, but grew up in Victoria, so my mother's down there, so I really understand the hard times that people are facing down in Victoria at the moment. Next slide, thanks. Yeah, thanks. So, yeah, so just a quick bio where I've come from. Yeah, as Tamara mentioned, 20 years in resi health, defence and humanitarian architecture. Began as a sole practitioner in Victoria, now as associate in HDR in New South Wales. really thankful to HDR for the support that they provide me in the work that I do overseas and so forth. Former director of AWF and Aussie Action, currently program director of Aussie Action. We take students and architects into Nepal to undertake community development projects. The building that you see on the bottom right there, the green building, that's a women's training centre in Coogee South. We built that with the community, and it's now so now the women of the village host training and teaching and so forth in that building. It's a really good facility, a really great community development project. On the Red R roster, for those that don't know who Red R is, that's the largest standby roster for the UN in the Southern Hemisphere. So it was initially registered engineers for disaster relief. Now they've got every aspect of emergency on their books, from architects like myself right through to gender-based violence workers and so forth. UNHCR deployments, and currently deployed to the cross-border operation where we're for Turkey into Syria, and I'm moving to Bangladesh next week for 6 months to undertake some site planning activities in the Kotapalong refugee camp. Next slide, thanks. Sorry, next slide. Yep, fantastic, thanks. So balance. I've been challenged a lot with balance. Having reduced my hours at HDR to 30 hours a week, and also undertaking the full-time deployment. So my day is really from 9 till say 3 at HDR, and then spending time with my daughter and my wife until about 7 or 8 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock to about 12 o'clock at night to where it's Turkey time. So at the moment it's 10 to 11 in Turkey, so we'll have meetings later on tonight. Just to be aware of burnout, note the warning signs, and don't be afraid to maintain yourself. I think maintaining yourself is incredibly important. It's something that I was really challenged with. Eat healthy, and but it's not about equal time, it's about rewarding time. So sometimes your time might push a little bit in one direction, but as long as you've got that bit of rewarding time at the end, and that might mean binge watching on Friends or Downton Abbey or whatever, but just to really have some downtime for yourself, and be aware of time stealers, and we'll get to that in the next sort of quick Q&A, I suppose. Next slide, thanks. Working from home with COVID, as I said, I tried to get into HDR office about 3 days a week to maintain some sense of normality, understanding that's almost impossible in Victoria and difficult in other states, but New South Wales is a little bit open, so I was able to do that. Fortunate at home to have a bit of a study where I could close the door and be in my own little sort of working world. Broke the day between the HDR deployment and exercise, eating healthily, and really thankful to to my supportive wife and daughter on the whole incredibly brutal time over this past 5 months. Yeah, just see, so the images you see there, just one of the camps which we planned to one of the things important with the site planning was to bring in strategies to reduce the risk of mitigating, reduce the risk of gender-based violence, so that the for example, separating toilets blocks from each other. As you can see on the little plan there, the blue dots are male toilets, the red dots are female toilets, just to have that separation. And there's a whole lot of strategies that we get involved with in just to reduce that risk of gender-based violence. Next slide. Yep, thanks. Maintaining lives. Tips are achieve and celebrate early wins, and we'll get to some of these a bit later in the Q&A. Maintain focus, helps to maintain focus. Learn to say no, incredibly important. Don't be too critical of yourself. I mean, you're important people, so just don't be too hard on yourself. Some couple of recommended books there which I found useful in life. Realise that you're in control of your life. It's your life, your story, and your journey. And don't let the remote access to the office rule your life. I mean, it's very easy to slip into where the computer is to turn off and at all stupid hours of the night. I mean, your employer's not going to thank you for that. So just don't let that remote office rule your life, and make time for yourself and your family, and make a time to find a cause to volunteer into. Next slide. Yeah, so just quickly, just for 1 minute, just a project I thought you'd be interested in, which we worked on in Nepal, was Mighty Nepal are a NGO that rescue girls and boys from trafficking. They've got a transit home down in Itahari. Transit homes dotted all over Nepal, but one down in Itahari where the toilet facilities were in a really, really bad way. So we went down there, measured up, and then brought a team down and rebuilt the toilet facilities for the girls. So just on the next slide, and you can see the outcome there. It was a really good project, and so now they've got really good facilities to bathe and go to the toilet. It's just a small project, but really impacting. Hand over back to you, Tamara. So thanks for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Damien. David. You've really worked on some remarkable projects. Thanks so much for sharing your advice and tips and the projects. Now moving along to Sarah Coughlin. Sarah is an interior architect and the creative director of her Perth-based design and project management firm, Within. Sarah and her husband, Alex Coughlin, work alongside one another in partnership with their clients and a select group of consultants, suppliers, and builders. Sarah leads the interior arm of the business and Alex leads the construction delivery arm. They specialise in design and construction management of bespoke interior architecture projects across Perth with an exceptional passion for renovating and furnishing older buildings or homes with character. They seek to design and deliver spaces you will love with considered form, exceptional spatial qualities, and an expression of your unique narrative. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Tamara, and thanks everyone for having us on. And yeah, I feel like I'm in very good company with Lauren and David. Lauren, I can't imagine what it's like having such a big team to care for during COVID. And David, that's some very amazing work you're doing, and you must have quite a different perspective outside of Australia on the whole COVID situation as well. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, as Tamara said. My journey started with a good decade working in mid to large architectural firms on quite large scale commercial projects, sort of nice big teams with other designers, fast paced and really exciting projects. But from early on, I kind of knew I wanted to run my own business. So at the end of 2013, the GFC was being felt in full effect in the construction industry in Perth. And I saw a bit of an opportunity where the bigger firms were open to, you know, opportunity outside of the typical full-time salaried employee. So I set up my company and began with contracting back to some of the firms I'd previously been employed in, and also some new firms, and Within really grew from there. We started getting our own projects and getting further into the residential market, which I really love. The ever-elusive balance to me is complicated and ever-evolving, especially when you throw children into the mix, like the other speakers certainly have. A colleague of mine once referred to it as a blend rather than a balance, and that really resonated with me. It does sort of merge into one another, and I think that's the beauty of working from home, and which I did prior to COVID anyway. For me, the blend actually got a bit easier when my husband joined the team, because it became a bit of a dual effort, and we appreciate each other's hard work, even when it comes at the expense of sort of family time. We've been really lucky over here in WA in regards to COVID, and I never forget that. I don't take it for granted, the position we're in. We did have 6 weeks in lockdown with our children from home. Mine are 3 and 5, so pre-primary and a very energetic toddler. We had a bit of a challenging time, both from a business perspective and also with the kids. All of our residential projects came to quite a screaming halt. Clients were worried about finances and what the residential market was going to do, as well as people not wanting construction happening in their home at this time, which is very understandable. So we were quite worried for the business. The work we did have, we sort of had to rotate out, my husband and I. One would be with the kids and the other would be working, which made for really long days and nights. and very little downtime. And yeah, I'm well aware some of you listening could still be living that, and I'm really sorry that it's a really hard situation. But I guess my top tips for staying agile in the environment would be to stay passionate as well as realistic. Sort of, you know, you have your big goals and your dream projects, but at the same time, staying open to all the opportunities at the moment. I feel like I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing a good job with no matter what I have on my desk. And I just try and focus on that at the moment. I'm really grateful that I get to do what I do. And my mantra, even before COVID, was that kindness can go a long way, and everyone's kind of going through something that you might not know about. And I think that's even more real in the face of COVID. Everyone's got battles that they're going through and family that they're worried about. And yeah, just stay kind to yourself and to everyone else. And yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Sarah. Okay, moving along to our panel discussion. So Lauren, we might start with you for this one. The first question is, what does balance mean to you, and has this definition changed for you since COVID?
I'll mute myself. I had the kids walking up to me before, so I was trying to deal with them off camera. Yeah, I think balance for me is trying to achieve, I suppose, that 50-50 break between work and life. And has balance changed for me? Yeah, it definitely has. You know, we have been one of the lucky ones that have been able to continue working in the construction industry. But obviously the harsher restrictions in Melbourne have had a huge impact. So I think I have really struggled personally, because I think, as Sarah was saying before, you know, I had that luxury of working from home prior to the COVID restrictions, and I loved it. It was my little break time where I smashed out all that admin work. I didn't have a million people at work coming to me asking questions, and I didn't have meeting after meeting. It was just a bit of me time. And like everyone, I snuck in doing the washing at home, doing a quick clean in the morning, getting dinner ready, and actually feeling, like I'd accomplished something as a mum as well. Because then when my husband got home at night time, I was like, babe, I've cooked dinner tonight, I've got it ready for you, washing's done, house is clean, and I've done all my work. And I think, having the kids at home, and like, the kids are amazing. My kids are they're so amazing. And I've got a 7-year-old, almost 8, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, all little girls. And they've been really, really good during the whole impact of COVID. And I'll just kind of skip around everywhere, but the first month and a half I had them at home every day, and I struggled, and I couldn't cope. I honestly couldn't cope. So I got to a point and rang up the principal from the school, and I just explained to her the pressures that I was, I suppose, under at work, and I suppose just the impact that I thought that if I couldn't do my job, that I might hinder or might impact on our employees' jobs. And I didn't want to do that, because we still had to go out and try and get work for all of our employees during these restrictions. And it was really up to our whole team, of course, but we ultimately are responsible for that. So she was amazing. Thank God. Thank God she said, the kids could come back to school. So they've been in school every day, and my mum helps as well with the kids, doing kinder drop-offs and stuff like that. And my husband's amazing. So I have been able to achieve a little bit of balance during the time, because I have been able to get back to, I suppose, that normality that you were both talking about, Sarah and David. It's so hard to grab, so hard to, just to make sure that you are achieving every day, which is just not possible sometimes. So it's been a bit of a balance, but I'm getting there, I think.
Yeah, amazing. That's so wonderful of the principal to let the kids back.
Oh, I know, thank God.
So good. David.
Sorry, I was on mute.
No.
So I mean, I think that it's hasn't really changed. it's just really have to focus may have a conscious effort to maintain that focus and maintain the equilibrium more than anything, especially with the intensity that I've been under over the past 5 months with the work and the deployment. So maintaining that equilibrium, just really maintaining a conscious effort to be focused. Yeah, I've got these set of tasks to do, so obviously making lists and all that kind of stuff, and sort of I'm really a task. I really sort of like to divide things up into tasks and then sort of smaller tasks and all that kind of stuff, and so I can really get my head around how things are going to work. So maintaining that so that and putting things into silos, I suppose. So I've got this stuff to do, then I've got that stuff to do, and then there's the time I've got to spend with my kid, my wife, my kid, and then back to work again. So it's just really making a conscious effort to be focused and not to burn out.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah, what's your view on that?
The biggest shift change for me, I think, would be the way I view some of the aspects of business. Some of the things that I was starting to see as negative have kind of been redefined with COVID. For example, I've been working from home for 5 years, and I was starting to feel like, I should get an external office and, try and move forward and appear more professional. But now I'm just really grateful that I work from home and that I can have that extra balance for the family. And as you were saying, Lauren, getting some things done whilst you're there. And another one, having young kids, and I used to sort of almost crave a solid 8-hour work day sometimes when you really want to get things done and you're in the middle of this really good design phase of a project. But now I'm just quite appreciative to be able to get out and see other parents. And, I know not everyone's able to do that at the moment. So spending time in the community's got a whole new lease on life, I think. We've all had our ability to see family and friends shaken this year. So.
Yeah. Moving along, so you guys all have kids at home. So how have you tackled this, and what is your biggest piece of advice or tip for our audience? We can start with maybe David this time.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Again, just making that conscious effort to spend time. So as I mentioned earlier, I've got that, I suppose my day is really divided into 3, work with HDR, that slot in the middle where we'll spend time with Michelle. Michelle comes into the study all the time anyway, so saw yesterday. and then on to the UNHCR work. But again, making that conscious effort to stop, turn off the phone. I mean, I don't always answer my phone. My phone is I'm not a slave to my phone. My phone's a servant to me. I'm not the other way around. So I'll make a conscious effort to spend time. I'll get the blocks out, get the Lego out, get my 1970s space Lego out and all that kind of stuff, and play with Michelle. Make up a fort from cardboard, all that kind of really fun, stupid stuff and fun stuff, which is amazing. And I suppose that's the way I've tackled it, just to really make sure there's that conscious effort to apportion time, because I understand there's those times where we're constantly under work pressure, where time will just get away with you. You need to get stuff done, but at the end of the day, investing that time into your kids more important than sending the email, which can wait 5 minutes. And
Yeah, that's very true. Now we've got Lauren. So were you homeschooling at all before you sent your kids back to school?
Yeah, I did for about a month and a half, I think. Yeah. And then I also had my mum who helped on a Wednesday. So just to explain, obviously, because we're in construction, we have been able to go into the office with work permits, like during the stage 4. So I suppose what I tried to do was do a couple of days at home, like I'm used to doing, and getting those items done, but then still having a presence at work, because I thought it was important that if we were getting our project managers who are required to go into the office or required to go to site, we need to show them support as well.
Yeah.
So the directors kind of alternated who would go in, who would do what. So the days that I was at home with the kids, it was full on. The homeschooling, I don't know all you parents out there that are doing it. Oh my gosh, it is just really full on. I think, you know, having the three of them as well, you'd have one of them that would go, Mum, I'm finished this. And then you go and check that. And then the other one would go, oh, can you help me with this? And it was just all over the shop. And, you know, during the stage 2 or 3 restrictions, we actually had my sister-in-law, actually both my sister-in-laws did it for a day. And my first sister-in-law rang me up at 10 o'clock and go, they're wagging school for the rest of the day. I'm not doing it any longer. So I was like, okay, you're not teaching them anymore. So it was a bit of a challenge, but yeah, listen, like kids are good. I don't understand. Like, we are struggling as adults dealing with all of this. Like how well they have dealt with it really is very impressive. And I know some kids are different and some kids are really struggling with it, but like having that no social interaction, especially at the age like, you know, David and Sarah, all our kids are at, that's what they crave. That's what drives them to, you know, be creative and, you know, just really enjoy life, I suppose. So it is a real challenge as a parent to try and keep up that entertainment all the time, I suppose.
Amazing, thank you. We might do a quick vote or poll. So if anyone who is currently homeschooling, either put a yes or a Y in the chat and we'll just see the answers flow through. And meanwhile, Sarah, we'll hand it over to you.
Excellent. Yeah, as I touched on before, we did homeschool for a little bit. I felt very glad that my children are quite young and there was sort of not a huge amount of pressure to act as a teacher, I guess. Pre-primary and kindy, there was a lot of play, but my girls are very energetic and there was no opportunity to both be working while they were home. So we really had to tag team and yeah, my girls, you know, they're amazing, but they really both are at that place where they love school, they love their friends, they love getting out and getting social. So it did take a little bit of a toll on them and their behaviour, and they, I guess, fought more with each other during that period, which was tough. But yeah, again, I feel really grateful that it was quite short-lived here, and hats off to all those homeschooling older kids or multiple, you know, more kids. And I think one of the big tips is to just be gentle on yourself and let the house slip a little bit and try not to compare yourself to others. There's a lot of talk out there at the moment of upskilling and what are you doing with all this free time, but yeah, I guess don't compare yourself to people in different situations. If you've got young kids at home, you probably have less time than pre-COVID, and yeah, just keep it simple and do what you need to do to make everything keep ticking over for you and your family.
Awesome, thank you for that, Sarah. We might throw it to a question that got asked in the chat from Adele Scott. So she says, for any of the speakers, was there a moment where you realised that the balance was tipping and you needed to make a change? And how did it feel to have to say no to something? Anyone feel free to chime in?
Yeah, if I can probably kick off on that one. Yes, there were times when the balance was tipping, and I think that kind of came about with when I realised, hang on, I'm in the study here at some stupid time, and I've actually came in and turned on the remote working into the office. And on the weekend as well, I've actually on a Saturday afternoon also came in and turned on the remote, and I was thinking, what am I doing? What was just like, why? I don't need to do that. And it was as if it was as if the working from home had created another habit of actually, because it's very easy to come in and switch off, and all of a sudden you're in you're at the office work. So switch in and you're at the office work, and sometimes there's just no need to do that. So that was when I realised, hey, hang on, I've really got to pull things back a bit, and yeah.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll go back to one of our questions. I'll throw this to you, Lauren. What has been your biggest balance fail, and how have you learnt or grown from this?
Biggest balance fail would by far be that I have turned into an alcoholic, I think.
I feel like we all
Being
have.
completely transparent, no, not really. But listen, I've definitely enjoyed having a drink more, being at home more often, I think, than not. And I think just not exercising enough. I think that's probably been the biggest balance fail. I loved going to F45 before all the restrictions were kind of implemented down here. And I just haven't, I suppose what David was talking about before, just stopped for a minute sometimes and just said, stop what you're doing, writing that email, you know, late at night or being in your little workspace. It's not going to achieve anything. Just stop and go and spend time with the kids, or go to the gym downstairs, or, you know, go for a walk. Just little things like that is what I have really struggled with. So over the last kind of 2 weeks, I've tried to get better and tried to just reprogram. Yeah, tried. So like, you know, even simple things like just getting my lunch ready for the week on a Sunday, which is what I used to love doing all the time when I had that consistent routine. And I think that kind of stuff just does really help when you do kind of try and get back to a little bit of normality.
Definitely. And Sarah, what about yourself? Have you had a balance fail?
Yeah, I think definitely the balance fail kind of came after we'd been operating with the kids at home. It was just so automatic. Kids would be in bed, you'd tidy up and straight back at your desk, and you just, work until you went to sleep and on repeat. And even when they went back to school, we just found ourselves, worrying about workflow coming in. Would we have future projects, etc.? So we just wanted to nail everything we had and just working around the clock, and we sort of had to stop and realize, reassess that that's not the right thing for anyone, and make a change.
Yeah, great. Now, David, so COVID has forced many of us to take a step back and slow down. For some, this can be stressful, especially if you're normally operating in a fast-paced environment like what we all probably do. Do you have any advice on how we can adapt to this?
Just to, I suppose, initially before I get into that, just to remember that the situation that we're in will end. I suppose it hasn't come to stay. I mean, it's come to pass. So I know it might sound a bit philosophical, but and sometimes it's hard to remember that during the with the situation that we currently currently faced with. But just to remember that this will end, and things will open up again, and hopefully there will be some return to some sense of normality, and hopefully that'll all things will get back to the previous kind of things will get back to balance, I suppose, for a better of a term. But I suppose not to just to really stay focused and stay positive. I know I've said that a few times, but and it's easier said than done sometimes. But yeah, I don't know if that helps or not. But...
No, that's great. We'll go to Lauren. What one thing are you thriving at during living in limbo? So something that you feel like you've smashed, or you're saying you're not working out, but is there something else you're doing that you're proud of?
Yes. So we've started building our alfresco out the back, which has been on my to-do list for a good 8 years.
Yeah.
So my husband is a residential carpenter. So obviously when work has slowed down for him, it's been awesome. So now we're finally getting that done, ready for summer. So yeah, I think, you know, that's definitely been an accomplishment. And yeah, I think, you know, just doing things around the house, like little things, like I've just always wanted to put plants everywhere.
Yeah.
Do green walls, you know, just redecorate the kids' rooms, like sort them out. Oh, hello, Michelle. And, you know, little things like that. So I've just started picking one room at a time so that I don't feel overwhelmed by that as well, I suppose. So, you know, just got a rug for the lounge, and then bought some pots online with greenery, and yeah, just little things like that, which is, it just makes me happier, because then when I'm in my workspace all the time at home, or when I come home, I just feel refreshed, which is good.
Yeah, amazing. And that's a good leading statement to our next question. So Sarah, with working and living in the same space, have you struggled with motivation? If so, how did you overcome this? I mean, you've been working at home for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been a good 5 years, and definitely there's points where you struggle with motivation. I find sort of, if you're just not feeling it, to have a bit of a tidy up. I know that sounds simple, but sometimes kind of clearing out even the house and the office, really helpful. Or go have a run, or walk out in nature, even just listening to a podcast while you're doing something else, and having that little break. And I also find, you know, we sort of made sure we had a office external to the house, which is really helpful in being able to sort of close that off and create a nice distinction between home time and work time. But, you know, whatever it may be, just being able to get away and shut the desk, or shut the work area, and let your brain switch off for a bit.
Perfect. Thanks for that. We do have another message through the chat. It's from P. She says, from anyone on the panel, what is the best piece of advice or tools to keep the balance and the strength to those who are in their own, so in brackets, no family, and not working either? So I'm guessing she meant on their own. So just, yeah, I guess if someone doesn't have the job, or currently no family, do you guys have any advice on how they can keep balance and strength?
I'll jump in there if you want.
Perfect.
I think, you know, obviously not having a family to lean on is really, really tough. But, you know, I think one thing that COVID has made us all appreciate is our friends, is our family, is whatever, I suppose, makes us happy in life. You know, so even, I suppose, going for a walk down the park and just speaking to people. I think what COVID has really done is isolated everyone. You know, you go down the street and you can't see anyone smiling, you know, which to me just sucks. I'm one of those people that always say hello, and that's my engagement. That's my interaction. That's how I even feel valued myself as a person, because you get that smile back from someone and you know that you've brightened their day. So I suppose just trying to go down the street and smile at people. I'm not sure where is Peter from, Is from Melbourne, or? Sorry, Tamara.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
No, I just said, where's Peter from Melbourne? Because obviously you've got the face mask and everything, which makes it really hard.
On the chat, so.
But yeah, I suppose just trying to figure out what you really enjoy doing. If you can go down the park and just talk to people, so that you don't feel as isolated. You know, that's probably the best advice to do. You've just got to get out as much as you can within your 5K limit if you are in Melbourne, and if you're not, then you can go a little bit further. But
He just said she's in Melbourne, so she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Peter. It sucks. Yeah, I think it's, like my sister-in-law is doing the same thing at the moment. Like, obviously she could lean on family, but she was actually meant to move to New York to go and work in New York, and then had her job, or she didn't have a job lined up, but was going to go move over there, had a lease signed, had the airplane ticket, and then stage you know, 3 or 4 kind of kicked in. So everything got cancelled. She'd resigned from her job. She'd moved in with her parents. So she's feeling very isolated at the moment. And the way that she's combated it is going for walks. She's gone for her walks. She's just, she's doing artwork. She's trying to find that creative side and what makes her happy. And she has her ups and down days like everyone, but I think just kind of reverting back to those little things like the arts and crafts and stuff that make her happy. And, you know, that's what gets her up.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I actually handed in my resignation letter before COVID. So I was much the same. So I was, focused on art, going for walks, just spending my time exercising, trying to avoid being on the screen for long periods of time, because I felt like that got me a bit, you know, in a sad mood. But yeah, personally, I kind of went through that as well. I've made a move interstate. So I moved from Melbourne to Brisbane. So I guess that was lucky for me. But yeah, I can imagine how you're feeling at the moment. And we do actually have an extension to your question. So from Emma, she's asked, how do you keep your mojo with being put off during COVID and there being absolutely no jobs to apply for? What do you recommend to remain current and engaged in the profession?
Oh, sorry, can I even attempt to make any sort of attempt at trying to make a reasonable sort of satisfying answer to that? That's a great question, and look, my heart really goes out to those that have lost their jobs in this time. I suppose if one thing I said before, just it's hard to keep in mind that this is a season and it will brush over, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you at the moment. I would try to at least keep your skills up. If you want to stay in architecture, if you're an architect, if you want to stay in architecture, don't let your skills drop in terms of if you're using Revit, don't let your skills drop. That'd be one thing. Try maybe also maintain an interest in the wider aspects of architecture. I mean, I know we all studied architecture history and then put it on the shelf as soon as we got into the office. I mean, maybe try to read some books like that, for example, or but also balance that with, and I know it's easier to said than done. With pick up some other skills, learn some new skills if you've got some downtime. I suppose that'd be my advice. That even trying to attempt to answer that sort of question, wow, I really feel for you. With
the design skills, is there any platform that she can use? So for instance, I've been using LinkedIn Learning quite a bit and just general YouTube tutorials, but is there anything you'd recommend, David?
I think that's great. Certainly LinkedIn Learning, yes. Anything's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. Whether if you're want to learn how to do something in Revit, you can Google it. So for example, or even sketching, to develop your hand sketching skills is also important. And if you've got time for that, I know that's in the architecture profession these days, that's unfortunately it's a bit of a dying art. Maybe try to pick that up. Become a human CAD. Yeah. Anyway, look, but I really wish you all the best. And as I said, my heart goes out for you.
I think sorry, Tamara, I'll just quickly jump in. I think following on from what David said, I think the training is amazing. It's such a good idea, and that's exactly what I have recommended to so many people that have called me directly looking for a job. Like, it is really tough in Melbourne, but you know, to give you guys a bit of hope, the market is picking up, is what we are finding. You know, clients are starting to spend money again. They are starting to open up projects. Like in the last 3 weeks, the influx of tenders that we've had has been 3 times as much as we kind of had at the start of COVID. So I hope that everyone knows that, you know, the market will pick up again. We just need to go that little bit longer, you know, and then I think it will be fine. But like, we're hiring at the moment as well. Do you know what I mean? So even though it is tough, I think companies are hiring. I think, you know, and I do love recruiters, I honestly do, but sometimes I think the direct approach is probably better, especially in the current situation. I find that I'm more open to speaking to someone directly if they do contact me, I suppose, via LinkedIn, or they reach out and they kind of tell me a little bit about their story, and then I'm happy to kind of meet up with them. Whereas if you kind of hear it from recruiters all the time, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. As a director, you're just kind of like, okay, I'm getting this every day. You know, I don't quite know how to sift through everything.
Yeah.
So maybe try the personal approach if you are trying to look for a job. And I think just trying to have that routine, I suppose, you know, every morning, get up, get dressed for the day, have breakfast, and then, you know, do a hobby, or as David said, you know, try and have a look on training online. You know, there's so much free stuff out there. And then sit down, eat your lunch. Don't run around and try and do everything at the same time. Go for your walks, you know, try and do stuff like that.
Yeah, great. We'll maybe do one more question. And Sarah, if you wanted to start this one off, it's from Aislinn. She says, I suffer from brain fog every day now. Would love some tips.
Yeah, brain fog is very high at the moment. I know it can be pretty overwhelming. Stop you from doing things. I guess my tip would be, I'm a big list person, and then I sort of categorize my tasks into the, you know, highly creative, where you need to be quite sharp, and then sort of easier to do tasks that I can do when I'm feeling foggy or when I'm tired, and yeah, really sticking to those tasks so you feel like you're achieving still, with the quite simple things that you can sort of use to tick over and tick things off the list. And sometimes that can sort of help, and also make sure you're getting sleep. Sometimes, you know, calling it quits and taking a nap, or getting an early night and sort of starting again in the morning can be far more effective than sitting at your screen at night, you know, thinking you're doing things when you're just overtired. Yeah, and just, I guess, eating well and exercising, which is really hard at the moment because sometimes you just feel like sitting around and it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but just even a small walk, fresh air, sunlight, it all helps even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, and Jenny has just sent through the chat, sometimes you don't realize until the brain fog turns into clouds, which is kind of a nice little addition. I might hand over to Amanda now. Amanda's our GM for Sydney, and she'll just do thank you to the sponsors and explain a little bit about our discussion rooms. So over to you, Amanda.
Thank you, Tamara. I hope everyone joined the content tonight. It was really interesting. Thank you to our speakers. We're going to have some optional networking. So for those who want to stay on the line, please do so. And we'll break out into virtual rooms and you can get to meet some new people in your same state or in other states, and hopefully stay connected. We also encourage, when you're in the breakout room, post your LinkedIn profile link in there and you guys can connect further from there. So firstly, we just like to acknowledge all of our national sponsors that have really supported us through COVID and helped us keep going with the impact that's had on face-to-face, obviously for WIDAC. So our national sponsors, gold, we've got Procore, Shape and Assa Abloy. Our silver national sponsors, Polytech, CGC Recruitment, Ortex and Ostron Services, and then our National Education Scholarship sponsor, FTC Fit Out and Construction, and our Mother's Care Package, Ortex. Again, just reiterating Althea earlier, if you jump on the website, anyone that you think would be open to applying for that, or if you want to nominate someone for the Mother's Care Package, do jump on the website and apply. Huge thank you to our guest presenters, who I think will be staying on the line for the discussion rooms. Lauren, David and Sarah. Thank you to Tamara and also Althea for doing the introduction. obviously to our wonderful community, all of our sponsors, and thank you to everyone. So I'd like to invite everyone to turn on their video and microphone in preparation for the virtual networking rooms if you're staying on the line. Anyone who doesn't want to stay on for the networking, thank you for joining us and have a great evening. I invite you to drop off now, and once we've got confirmation of everyone who's staying online, I can then automatically set up those rooms to make sure we've got the right amount of people in each room. We've had a couple of glitches previously where people might drop off afterwards and we might only have one person in a room, which we don't want to have. I can't edit it once they're launched. So yeah, anyone that does want to stay on the line, invite you to do so. And I'm going to start launching the rooms. We'll have 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the discussion room. And then we'll reconvene back here in the main room for a final thank you and goodbye. Last time, again, technical glitches where the room kind of finished and some people were mid-sentence. So yeah, we will come back to this main room before we close the event to make sure that you all don't get cut off mid-sentence. And if you do want to share contact details, you get the opportunity to do that before we close the room. So I'm just going to create the rooms now. So hopefully I will just launch them. So I'm going to open all the rooms. You should get a little prompt. So if you just jump in the room and then make sure your video and microphone's on, and you can all get to networking. If there's any issues, let me know, send me a message, and I can broadcast some messages with some suggested questions through the chat function as well. So hopefully you've been invited to a room. Anyone that's still left in the main room, if you've had that invite and haven't clicked on it, you should have an option to join the breakout room you've been put in. And if you're dropping off the line, thank you for joining us. But yeah, any issues, drop me a note in the chat function or turn your microphone on and let me know. But everyone hopefully has been put into a room and can get networking. So we've got a few people still in the main room. If you've got any issues, please drop me a note in the chat box or turn your mic on and I'll try and help you out. And I'm just going to go through the breakout rooms and make sure everyone has got access. Okay, great. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi everyone. We're just gonna wrap up. So all the rooms will be closing now. I hope that everyone had valuable connections in the rooms they were in. I would invite anyone who wants to post their contact details in the chat box, or take note of any names you want to connect with on LinkedIn. Some of the rooms are still closing, and in a couple of seconds they'll all be shut and everyone will be welcome back to this main room. But I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. So yeah, okay, all the rooms are shut now. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this evening. We've got another one of these evening networking sessions coming up. Have a look on the website for that. And we've got lunchtime workshops on a digital forum as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to share their LinkedIn or contact details, drop it in the chat function. And yeah, thanks everyone. I'd invite anyone if they want to leave any closing remarks or share any personal stories or anything like that with the whole group. No? Okay, all good. I'll just wait a couple of seconds because there's some LinkedIn profiles popping up in the chat. So thank you for sharing them. But yeah,
I'm just gonna add mine, so just hold the horses.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll give everyone a bit of time. So our hearts go out to everyone in Melbourne. I just jumped in a discussion room with Alicia and Imogen, and had no idea how bad it is, because on the news here in New South Wales, it's like restrictions are lifted, woohoo! Yeah. But actually in reality, it doesn't really make all that big of a difference. So it's really interesting how they broadcast it in other states compared to sort of what everyone's actually going through. So do reach out to us. I'm Amanda Brown, General Manager in Sydney. Drop me a note on LinkedIn if you want to connect. Happy to have virtual catch-ups, coffees, wines, whatever it is. And we will do some more virtual social sessions only, just as a social thing, without the presentation, just to keep connected as we continue through what's almost the end of 2020. It feels like the year that didn't exist, but kind of never ended as well. So yeah, but thank you everyone for joining us. Tomorrow, I don't know if you want to finish off with anything, but I'll close the room in a moment.
I'm all good. Thank you everyone for signing in.
Fantastic. Thanks everyone. Hope to see you again soon.
See you guys.